This moment from today's hearing is getting a lot of play in Washington, some pro, some con. This is the Senate Judiciary Chairman.
So, no collusion, no coordination, no conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian government regarding the 2016 election.
All right, let's break down today's events with Democratic strategist and former Clinton advisor Richard Goodstein and former Solicitor General of Texas, Scott Keller. Great to have both of you here tonight, gentlemen.
Good to be here.
Okay, so you heard what the Senate chairman said there, Judiciary Chairman said, Lindsey Graham. This is how the Washington Post reacted to that. They said Graham's attempt to summarize the Mueller report's findings is misleading at best. The report did not assess whether there was collusion because collusion isn't a legal term. In the end, Mueller did not find coordination that would constitute a crime, but he never explicitly said there was no collusion. Trump, Barr, and Graham have said that. Scott.
So, Shannon, we've been hearing about collusion for so long. And now, all of a sudden, there's this pivot to, oh, no, we don't want to talk about collusion anymore, because at the end of the day, the Mueller report came out and it said that there was no charges to be brought here. And in that scenario, I think Attorney General Barr is completely correct that the judicial process should not be weaponized for political ends. And that's exactly, I think, the point that Senator Graham was making here. You want to talk about collusion? Let's talk about collusion. It's not there.
Well, and there have been a lot of questions about whether there was a political animus here, Richard. You know that. And you saw Catherine's report, and you saw a number of the members there talked about the origins of this thing and what Barr is doing. So we know today, he said he's working with FBI Director Christopher Wray to look back into things. We know that the U.S. Attorney Huber is looking at things, the Inspector General at the DOJ. Barr said he's talked with him as well, Horowitz, the IG at the DOJ. And Senator Josh Hawley, who sits on the committee and was part of this today, tweeted this. You want to know why the FBI spied on @real Donald Trump, launched multi-year investigations? It's about @real Donald Trump voters. Unelected, progressive elites in our government have nothing but contempt for them. Total, complete contempt. What did Democrats do with that?
A couple things. First, hats off to the president and his supporters. Most Republicans believe the Russians didn't even try to meddle, let alone succeed, as every intelligence, the polls indicate that. There have been polls asking Republicans, do you believe that the Russians intervened? And the answer among the majority of Republicans is no. They don't believe it. So good. Congratulations.
I think a majority of them don't believe the president took the bait and worked with them.
Well, okay. Well, I'm not going to quibble now. I will be happy to send it to you after the show.
Sounds good. We'll tweet it out.
As regards the collusion, it's interesting that Graham, whom I have a high regard for, Barr, a little less respect after today, are saying no collusion when, and as you said, that Mueller specifically said, we're not looking at collusion because that's not a legal term. We're looking at coordination. And I would say that Trump got off on a technicality in his campaign. The technicality was, yeah, the people in the campaign, when he said Russia, steal Hillary Clinton's materials, that's basically what he said. And the Trump campaign didn't steal them themselves. So when they purveyed them, when they used them, they weren't kind of complicit in the coordination. And the Russians didn't do it. They had WikiLeaks or somebody else do it. So it was too attenuated to be, kind of have anybody in the campaign accused of this.
Mueller spent 2 years and millions of dollars, and his assignment is essentially to say whether or not there were crimes committed. I mean, Barr talked about today, like, so it's a binary choice. Either he says, yes, we're going to charge these crimes, or we're not. And ultimately, he said that they weren't going to. Let me bring in Scott here.
Sure. Yeah, the other aspect of this, though, too, that, we can all go and look. We can read the Mueller report. It's out there. And at the hearing today, it was fascinating because everybody kept wanting to talk about this initial letter, the 4-page summary letter. And so now everyone can go look at it, and they can see what the report said. And I got to tell you, as a former chief counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee, the hearing today often looked more like debate tryouts for Democratic presidential hopefuls than it really did a hearing that was actually trying to uncover some truth.
Well, and there were a lot of people who would say both sides were grandstanding and showboating a little bit. But tomorrow that's not going to happen because the Attorney General is not going to show up there. We had this letter tonight from the Assistant Attorney General, Stephen Boyd, to Chairman Nadler of the Judiciary Committee. He says the Attorney General offered you and other congressional leaders to the chance to review the report with redactions only for grand jury information, because that's prohibited by law. Before even reviewing the less redacted version, you served a subpoena instead. Why wouldn't Nadler go look? Why hasn't a single Democrat taken him up on this, chance to come view something he says less than 2% of the material is redacted. Why wouldn't they at least go look before a subpoena?
Well, again, we don't know what's redacted. My guess is Nadler's attitude is, look, I feel as chairman, I'm entitled. We have SCIFs. We have these secure facilities to review things like that. So please give me some credit as chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Look, again, and the fact is, all this explanation about why Barr's not testifying, I think he's not testifying because probably somebody advised him, you're this close from perjuring yourself. We know what happened in that testimony to the House committee that Congressman Christ asked him something where he was deceitful. Did he lie? Did he perjure himself? No. Did he give an answer that was honest? No, he absolutely didn't. And I think that, among other things, he decided, I've had it. Look, today when he couldn't even decide what suggestion was, did the White House suggest that you investigate your political rivals? And he kind of reminded me of Bill Clinton saying, what's the definition of is? He was like, what's the definition of suggest? He had a guilty conscience.
He did say that there were a lot of discussions with a lot of different people, because they said the entire White House, and he said he'd have to think about it, which I think is a smart thing to do if you worry that you would give an answer that would get you in trouble. All of us lawyers would feel that way. Sure. All right, Scott and Richard, great to have you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.